glad you guys are here to see it. Thank you very much. We love you. Jay Curter, folks.
Guys, you know, Bob says it so well. We're so honored by all of you in the stands, and I mean, can you believe the level of the talent that we put on the stage here this weekend? I'm telling you, you don't have to leave town to go find great music talent. It's all over this area, and we're so proud to be part of it. And want to thank you for reading the Regular Joe. We've been doing this for 3 years now. We just finished our 3rd year of the Regular Joe, and you know, much to you know, the people in the big brick place downtown aren't too crazy about us, but we can't help that. We're just going to keep doing what we do and keep putting stuff out and hope that you keep picking it up. I did want to mention that we've got a bunch of old copies of Regular Joes. People ask us all the time, do you have the one that has the something on the cover or whatever? So we brought down just kind of a big representative sampling of them, and they're yours if you want to dig through them. There's probably 20 or 30 different issues represented out there by the snack bar, so if you'd like to dig through those, please do. If not, we'll recycle them. This is the part of the program that everything else was sort of all about. Everything's been kind of leading up to this. Now, I'll back up and give you a little bit of stuff here in a minute, but I want to tell you about this Hall of Fame thing, because it's kind of a big deal. We didn't think it was going to be starting out, but then things changed. What we thought we would do is just make up something, because that's of course what we do, but we thought we would make up the St. Joe Music Hall of Fame. We'd just make it up. There isn't one, so we'll just invent one. And then we can put in it whoever we want, and we can just, you know. Well, then I found out, once we had decided that we were going to do this, we found out that the Music Foundation guys were already in the works of trying to put together the Missouri State Music Hall of Fame. Well, we decided that's a much bigger deal. So I'm not really sure how they pulled this off. I'm guessing it was some sort of internet larceny, if I had to guess. Knowing the people involved, I would guess that there was some sort of internet larceny involved. But in any case, there's a very disappointed group in St. Louis that thought that they were the owners of the Missouri State Music Hall of Fame, but they are longer. So much thanks to our friends at the St. Joseph Music Foundation. St. Joseph, Missouri is now the home of the Missouri Music Hall of Fame. Well, that's a pretty cool thing. And you know what? That gives us the opportunity to do a lot of stuff. Can you imagine if we were doing this a year from today and I was getting ready to introduce Chuck Berry, you know, or Sheryl Crow, or you know, we've got a list. But now that this is the Missouri State Music Hall of Fame, we can go after some of those people. But let me back up now and tell you that no matter who we get next year, I couldn't be any prouder of to be able to introduce them next year as I am to introduce the people that we're going to be doing this with today. So I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about our first inductee. How many of you remember Bill Foster from the Let's Dance show? Thank you. I'm really glad. I had a little special connection, you know, to Bill's family. My parents and Bill and his wife were good friends. And so as little kids, they would play cards and whatever. And so, you know, myself and my siblings would get shoved in a bedroom, you know, with Bill's kids, you know, and we all kind of got to know each other as little kids. And so anytime Let's Dance was on, you know, we'd turn it on and you know, we thought that was a big deal because we knew him. That was our famous guy that we knew, you know. So anyway, I mean, in my lifetime, that's one of the most recognizable personalities from this community. And in addition to all of the things that he did on the radio and on television with Let's Dance and all that stuff, one of the things that I did not know was what a concert promoter Bill was. when I was talking with his son Jeff, he just listed off all of these names of some of the great rock and roll people from the 50s and 60s that Bill brought to this area. All the teen dances, all the sock hops, all the stuff. And so when we started talking about doing this, we said, you know, originally it was going to be a St. Joe Music Hall of Fame thing, and what a great individual to bring in. But then we started thinking with all of these bands, I mean, he was connected with Dick Clark and the American Bandstand, you know, machine. And you know, that's how they started bringing all these other bands in and so on. So we thought, you know, what an appropriate person to put into our Missouri Music Hall of Fame. So let me, if I could, introduce Bill's kids, Jeff and Teresa, to come up here. And then let me introduce somebody that doesn't say much on the mic, but has had a hand in every sound you've heard in here all weekend long. Let me get Larry Sheltnick. Larry, would... If I can get him away from setting up mics and equipment for just a second. Hey Larry, grab that box of plaques. That cardboard box of plaques right behind the guitar. Sure, we have the only delay all day once he gets away from the board. Well, again, let me introduce Larry Sheltnick, who's had a big hand in all this, the president of the St. Joe Music Foundation. Let me dig this plaque out. I'm going to hand it to Larry, and then I'm going to let Larry hand it off to Bill's children, okay? Looks good, doesn't it?
The first to be in the Missouri Music Hall of Fame?
The first inductee to the Missouri State Music Hall of Fame, Bill Foster.
My dad loved young people. He loved teenagers. And he always gave teenagers the opportunity to go someplace and hang out and have a good time and not get in any trouble, but just go dance to the music of their times and their generation. From the 50s and the 60s and into the 70s, my dad was just involved in music in St. Joe for so much and so long. And I wish he was here to see this. But maybe upstairs he's looking down and saying, you know, all right. And thank you very much.
We don't know where these are going to be hanging yet. The Music Foundation, as this thing goes forward with the Hall of Fame, will find a suitable place and a little plaque and some information. But thanks to Van Vickle Monuments, who put this stuff together for us, we were really, really pleased. Bugsy said, please don't make it look like a tomb, though. All right, hang on just a second. Man, have I been looking forward to this. If I could, let me tell you about my experience with Bugsy Maugh. About 3 years ago, I got a call, and he said, hey, do you want to come down to Magoon's? Bugsy Maugh's going to be doing a show down there in a couple weeks, and maybe you could do an interview with him and promote this show. I said, oh, I've always wanted to meet him. I've heard him play, you know, I've seen him around, but I've never, you know, talked to him. I'd love to do that. So I went down to Magoon's, and he was down there, and he had a big crowd of, you know, people around the table and so on, and I told him who I was and what I was there for, and he just looked at me like, who are you? And so I started asking him all my, reporter 101 questions, rock journalist questions. And man, he didn't tell me anything. I wanted to ask him about Janice, and he wanted to tell me about the drummer that I can hear all the time here in town. I wanted to hear about Jimmy, and he wanted to tell me about this guy playing harmonica that's a buddy of his. And, I wanted to hear all this stuff, and all he wanted to do was tell me all about his good friends that were playing with him down here at the show. So, I wasn't like just bummed completely out because it was a pleasure to meet him, but all he wanted to do was give all the attention to all of his friends because that's just how he is. And so, I went home and I was a little disappointed, but I wrote the story as best I could and went down and saw him. It was a great show down at Magoon's, as they typically are. But about a year and a half later, I was in Magoon's again, strangely. And Bugsy came up and tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "Hey, I wanted to thank you." He said, "I really liked the story that you wrote." And he said, I have to admit, I didn't know who you were." I thought, "Oh, fine." And he said, "I'd never heard of your paper." I was like, "Oh, really?" He said, "But since then, I've read every issue and I really like it. And if you'd like to do another story, maybe the statute of limitations has passed and maybe we could tell some of these stories." So we kind of got into that a little bit. It didn't take me very long to realize that this is not a 650-word story, for the regular Joe. There's just too much. That doesn't get him to Omaha. So in any case, I said, "Hey, you could probably get some awfully good people to write your story. But, if you'd be willing, I'd sure love to attempt it." So as of right now, we're about 80 pages into a book that I'm writing with Bugsy Maugh. The working title is Bar Chords with Bugsy. All right. And thank you. All I can tell you is that I've got hours of videotape and notes and all this stuff. And, he's not a name dropper like, "Ooh, you'll be impressed if you hear this." But he's just talking and, well, then Eric Clapton said, like, it is the list of people. I'm going to name just a few here, and I'm really not going to do justice to it. But, some of you younger people don't have maybe an idea who it is that we're talking about. But as far as I can tell, out of all the musician people that have come out of St. Joe, it'd be really pretty hard pressed to find somebody that's done as much over such a long period and intersected with so many of the greats of the music industry. And I'm going to leave 100 names out, but let me just start by saying that Bugsy went to Omaha from St. Joe and played with a band that he says is still one of the favorite groups he's ever played with, a band called Kraken, if that name means anything to anybody. And then he left Omaha and headed out on the road with Wilson Pickett, where he had to wear a little uniform and do little steps and all that stuff. And then shortly after that, the next step on the ladder was when he got a call from the Paul Butterfield Blues Band. There's a name some people know, huh? Well, I can't wait until you get a chance to see the book and sort of hear some of these stories the way that he told them to us, because I'd love for everybody to experience that, because it was a real treat for me. But, in his time on the road and in the music business, just some of the names that he shared the stage with, that he shared, the travels with and the tour buses and just all the stuff. Janice and Jimmy. Do you need last names for those? How about Peter Pollenmary? How about Todd Rundgren and Paul Schaefer and most all of the major blues greats of the time? Bugsy is what he is a bluesman. That's what I would call him. He's a bluesman. He's one of the last of the bluesmen. So, in any case, Larry, can I get you back up here again? We're working on that Bugsy book. We'd really hope to have it available by the time the Joe stock got here, but we've got some stuff going on. I don't want to let on too much, but there's possibility of some other events coming up in the future that would feature Bugsy and maybe a little traveling party and so on, and we're thinking that that might be a good way to wrap the book up. If that comes about, great, we'll be glad to tell you all about it. If not, then maybe today will end up being, the last chapter in the book, at least for a while. Because one of the things I've learned from these guys is, it doesn't stop. As long as they keep going, it just keeps going. I think they just got to keep doing it. I mean, haven't you seen that? The Time Warriors and the Roadhouse Review, and these guys don't give up the itch, man. It doesn't go away. They just keep doing it. So I'm going to hand this lovely plaque off to my friend Larry here, and we're going to see if we can get, there he is. He's over here. He's all strapped in and ready. The consummate professional, ready to, the show must go on, all that stuff. Hand that thing off to him for a second so you can grab this plaque, because it's pretty cool, and we're anxious to show it to you. Larry Sheltnick from the Music Foundation.
Looky there. I don't know, man. Pretty close. Bugsy, it's my honor, man.
What can I say, but what can I say? I love you. I played ball here when I was a kid. This is home. It's good to be back in New York. If I ever leave again, I'll never leave you guys again. Love you dearly. Chuck Berry is next. Chuck Berry is next.
All right. Guys, the list is long. You have any suggestions on people that need to be in this Hall of Fame? Feel free to email them to us. We're going to start a list, and we're going to put as many in here as we can get to come. We're going to put the live ones in, the dead ones in. We're going to dig them up if we have to and prop them up in the corner. We're going to keep doing this. And, this Music Hall of Fame belongs to St. Joe now, Anybody else wants to come see it, they got to come here.